Okay. Alors, so this all started in 2005. There was a meeting, Pro-Silver meeting, and I had been speaking to Max Brüch-Mackie and Roland Susse for years, and they said, you need to do this thing about the AFI. So in 2005, we got together with a bunch of people from England and Wales and from Ireland, and we had a study tour. And both Max and Julien took 4 days out of their time, and they showed us lots and lots of things. And as a result of that, this started off the first sort of international AFI. I must say that the Belgians did beat us to it. The first AFI plots were in Belgium rather than across the Channel. But in 2005, all these people here, some of us are here today, Andy Poor and Alec Dauncey are here, but we went over and we simply learnt, and I think this is the really important thing. You know, the AFI and the ISN are a collection of volunteers, essentially. They're people who have an idea. They don't offer a service. They have consultants and people like that who do some of the work, who make their living from irregular forestry or forest management. But the AFI and the ISN, just like Pro-Silver, are people who promote ideas. And I think it's an important thing for us all to realize. And, you know, we just spent 4 days talking. And we were very, very lucky because Max and Julien were with us the whole time. We were the whole day together in forests that I used to know because we were in La Forêt de Langres near Auberive, which I know very well because before I studied in university in Aberdeen, I spent a year working as a forest worker, getting experience of French forests. So some of these places I knew already. And we were just, you can see, that we just spent our whole time talking. And we stayed overnight in places, and we continued the conversations on and on. So all these ideas were developing. And these are some of the evidence that we had. La Forêt de Regnaval, which is, if you cut the forest down, Max used to say, you could plant de la betterave. You could plant beet on these fields. It was so fertile. And this was one of the great examples. Now, where are the big trees? This is la rotation du capital. This is what is going on. This is, you know, all these concepts, you know, came to us. These are things that really changed us. The small group of people from England, Wales, and Ireland were suddenly inspired, and we understood what continuous cover was about. We understood irregular forestry, thanks to this one trip. We did have an idea beforehand because we were members of Pro-Silver, but this really crystallized it for us, and it showed us that, you know, by monitoring, we could come up with results, and that we could show these not just to ourselves, but to our clients as well. And, you know, look at it. This is a highly productive forest. And I can see the big tree there because I know it, but there aren't many of them. And it's just, this is producing volume at an incredible rate, and that volume is being harvested. And because that volume is being harvested, there is an irregular structure there, and that irregular structure provides timber benefits, as we know, but it also provides biodiversity benefits as well. This was an important turning point. The book on the left-hand side is not the original cover, actually. I don't have a slide showing the proper cover, but that book has just been republished. There's a new edition, 2018. But in 2011, the book was translated. So this also boosted the international branch of the AFI. This is an important work. Everybody in this room, I'm sure, knows it. But this was a way of promoting the AFI on an international stage by publishing that book in English. And there is a new copy which is being produced at the moment and which is in translation. And also, there were similar projects as well. ProSilver Switzerland produced a little booklet, and that was a small aide-mémoire, and that aide-mémoire has been translated. And just as ProSilva Wallonie as well has produced a book, all these things have been translated into English, and it spreads knowledge and it spreads better understanding of irregular forestry. The demand for this book is still very high. So this is the latest version. There's going to be a new edition coming out. And so we're talking about people and individuals. This person here is with us today, Roland Burrus. He is a great promoter of ideas. He is somebody who believes in things and then puts all his energy in disseminating that idea. And he's a great internationalist. He has ties all over the world, but particularly in the USA. But you name it, Roland's been there. He's been spreading the word, whether it's in Iran or anywhere else. Roland is spreading good ideas. And this was, the AFI was a platform for him to extend to Americans. And this here is in 2006. US foresters visit France, and this is Le Nouvion again, great teams of Americans coming over. They came on a holiday, and Roland made absolutely sure that it just wasn't going to be dry forestry that we were going to show them. We just weren't going to show them forests. We also showed them French culture. We went to all the cathedrals on the way. We went to restaurants. We had days off. And so we were spreading ideas all the time. And it's rather than just concentrating on trees and forestry, and we did that on occasions like this, we mixed it in with other things. So it was a great way of telling people about irregular forestry. And this was reciprocated by visits. This is in France, but this was, this is the Americans who came over. But this was reciprocated by Lafille going to the US as well. And this is 2008. You see, only 2 years later, we visited Quebec and New England. This was a fantastic trip. And this is where we got pictures of autumn colors, by the way. And this chap here, in the wood on the top, he is leaning against Alisier terminal, a wild service tree in a wood in France. And same man leaning against a tree, but he's in the forest in Maine. And this is one of the things that the AFI was doing. It was facilitating these exchanges, showing the Americans how we did things in France, what the network was about. And just spreading understanding. And this was another trip that I made to America, and we were talking about, you can see that there's the ProSilva longer there, but also AFI as well. And I went there with Edward Wilson, and this was a paper that I presented with Ted Wilson. Showing the Americans how we did things. And this led to visits to New England, and because Cy was working for the New England Forestry Foundation, Cy wanted to put in AFI plots there, but there was a reluctance. It just didn't happen. So the AFI network, le réseau AFI, never quite made it to the USA, but we did try, thanks to Roland. But then in 2006, it was a busy year, this is when things really did start to happen, because in Wallonie, the first AFI stand was set up outside of France, same year as Starhead, but they beat us to it. But now, and we've heard all today, all this afternoon, about what has been, how the network is expanded outside of France. We have 3 in Wallonie, 3 in Luxembourg as well, and we've seen the presentations of these just now. And these are pictures of some of these stands. 2006, the first in England was Starhead, but since then we have 3 of them in England, 4 of them in England and 3 of them in Wales. The unpronounceable names there, the Welsh names. And Ireland as well. And you've heard from Paddy Purser, so I won't linger on this. But 2013, so we're moving on a bit, we now went to Holger Weinauger's Wood, and looking to expand the AFI. So this was the very, very first time we tried to expand the AFI into Germany. And you can see Holger here. He is standing surrounded by regeneration, and Heinrich is holding up a picture of the wood. And I know it's a bit dark and maybe you can't see, but that was the wood when it was bought. And there is no regeneration at all. So irregular silviculture produces immediate results. And this is all part of the story of transformation. And we've been talking about transformation in different forests in some of the presentations this afternoon. This here just shows you how quickly, AFI management, or pro-silver management rather, and AFI monitoring can come up with results. And the Swiss, AFI Helvetia. So we've heard about these as well. So there are lots and lots of things going on all the time. And back we go to Holger's Wood, and now we have these 11 AFI research stands in Germany. And this has happened very, very recently. The network has been wanting to expand for a long, long time. And it suddenly happened with the Swiss and with the Germans on a very large scale, and as well as the the AFI stands in Ireland. So 2016, Starhead. This is an iconic view of a landscape garden, and we had a meeting there, and this was l'association Futaie Irrégulière setting up the irregular silviculture network, and here's the delegation. There Max, Julien, and Valentin. They came along, and what we did is we had l'association Futaie Irrégulière in the Anglophone mode is the irregular silviculture network. So network is the same word as réseau. So le réseau de sylviculture irrégulière. So there is now more and more attention on irregular forestry. And so there are countries that want to join the network, and we need to find ways of making that work. We've heard the presentations just before me. There's so much potential. There is so much that can be done, and the network really provides a framework of promoting what you're doing. And it is unfortunately, I need to say, essential that you need to stick to the protocol, because it's a database that requires it has to be consistent. The data that you provide has to fit in within the database. So we need to we need to accept that, and we need to have a system that we can spread out. And as long as that's been accepted, it's been accepted by the Swiss and by the Germans, as well as by all the predecessors as well. It fits within that network, and then the network can expand and provide the benefits that others are enjoying at the moment in these other countries. This here is Paddy Purser mentioned a very big project that's going ahead in Ireland at the moment. And this here is interesting because I showed you the slide about the AFI and the ISN, and the AFI and the ISN are the same organization, but we have a slightly different focus within the ISN because we have different client bases, we have very different forest conditions as well. So, even though we're following the protocol for everything we do for any AFI stands that we put up, we diverge in some slight ways. And it's quite interesting to think that l'AFI has got le réseau, the network, but it also has des placettes de gestion forestière as well. And so it has two databases. And so long as you provide the data in the right format, you have access to these two databases. And we have developed le gestion forestière network in Ireland and in England. And Paddy Purser was talking about two things. He was talking about AFI plots, and unfortunately we've lost some of them because of clear felling, and wind. But also he was talking about ISN plots, and this is what he meant. He meant gestion forestière, des placettes de gestion forestière, rather than les gestions du réseau AFI. Right, so there are a number of these that will be going up, but in order to deliver this very large program, which is a research and development program, which is funded by the European Investment Bank, which is developed into training, you can see, continuous cover forestry training, forest inventory data, and that means remeasuring AFI plots, but also setting up these new ISN research stands as well. And these two there are leading on to carbon accounting. Carbon accounting, deer management, what isn't mentioned, what isn't listed there is in fact modeling. That carbon accounting includes an element of modeling as well. Now this grant, this R&D training support, has been supplied to an investment fund. So investment funds are not like the typical AFI woodland owner. The woodland owner has an asset and he wants to maximize the returns, minimize the costs, and these sort of things. Whereas here, this is a fund, and a fund is saying to an investor, give us your money and we will give you a return. So in order to do that, we need to model. We need to tell them, this is the likely thing that's going to happen. This is the sort of forest structure that we're going to be developing. With this forest structure, you will have these economic benefits. And so there is a need for us to model. And I heard what Max said this morning in response to a question, which was, c'est le modèle qui ne marche pas. So it's true that l'AFI has not concentrated on. It's just concentrated on recording data, and with that data providing evidence. Now we still do that, but we are looking at modeling how irregular stands perform, and also the financial implications of that as well. So that is one thing that we're doing with these funds here. And the carbon accounting as well, all these things are important, and deer management, biodiversity monitoring as well, and certification and microbiomes as well. So this is a very large project, and this is financing an awful lot of new work in Ireland. If you have we were talking about this slight, the way things are changing now. The demand At one time, a client would want to know only about the financial performance of the forest. Whereas now there are all sorts of demands which are coming in that, carbon, what are the carbon benefits of irregular forestry? These are things that we need to provide. What are the biodiversity benefits? And in a way, there's a slight irony because Le Protocole Lafitte used to measure everything, the deadwoods, the crowns and everything, and we provided the clients with these abbreviated versions of the AFI, which is Gestion Forestière. Now the client is saying, we want all the things that you've cut out because the demand is there. The demand is there. So what we're going to be able to do is to produce modules. We have the basic Gestion Forestière module. We can have the biodiversity module. We can have the carbon module. We can have all these different things that we then attach to the basic module. Right, so again, I've mentioned ProSilver lots of times. It's because of ProSilver that the AFI came about, that my group became part of Lafitte, and we have the same objectives. We do the same things. We're promoting things, but we're different organizations. And we've heard several times today that we're the technical branch of ProSilver. But ProSilver does things very, very well that Lafitte isn't actually concerned with, but Lafitte does actually benefit from. It does lobby. ProSilver now is speaking to Europe at the very, very highest level. And that has an effect. That has a trickle-down effect. And if this is so, what I'm saying is that the links between ProSilver and the AFI have always been there. We now need to re-explore those links and to see how we can work even more closely. And we're in partnership essentially. This is from the ProSilver website. And this is Présentation Phil Morgan, which is being advertised and highlighted and explained to a very wide audience through the ProSilver website. Okay, thank you.